Boom. There it is. We are live. I have Jay Shaw, Cody Martin in the house. Two of the best endurance racers in the Southeast right now. How you fellas doing?
What's going on, man?
Doing good, doing good.
Man, I got to tell you guys, we have been, or I got to tell the listeners rather, we've been planning this for, I don't know, about a month or so. And the back and forth that you guys have had in our little group text I'm kid you not, I've been laughing at my phone for a long time. So it's been really good. I'm excited about this one. This is one I'm really interested in because there's a little bit of friendship rivalry here. So I'm excited. But first things first, as we have people jump in here, I want to hear about who you guys are just a little bit before we start talking about the race season and all that kind of fun stuff. So, Jay, if you want to start us off, how'd you get in the sport? What do you do? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
Man, so started back in, I want to say, late 2015. I got into sport right then. I played college baseball in Alabama and just, always been in the woods riding dirt bikes in the whole 9 yards. And my time in Alabama, they're paying me to throw a baseball. So I sort of took some time off, and just, really focused on that or whatever and missed my roots and thing. So as soon as I got out, I got a job and, grabbed a razor, got back in the woods and noticed real quick I was missing that competitive drive, of the ball and stuff. So, our first race was Stony Lonesome. It was it was, man, Chris Wilkerson put on a race up there, straight up side by side. And I show up, and I'm pretty much bone stock Razor 1000. And, I was sort of nervous, getting back into it, just in the racing. And Tim Cameron was there, Justin Point, the whole 9 yards. They're all in the custom chassis turbos and stuff. And I think I got third our first race ever, right behind Timmy and Justin. And that's pretty much where it started, man. I mean, I got the fix and I got the bug and just made a lot of bad financial decisions since,
Cody, how did you get started?
Man, I've always had a background in motorsports. I mean, we started off young racing go-karts, and then it transitioned to the off-road stuff, dirt bikes, four-wheelers, the whole works. Buddy come over with a Razor in 2012 and kind of set my mind that I wanted one, so went out and got an XP900 when they come out and just started trail riding, and that was never enough. And then I really wanted to get into all the stuff that was going on at the time was all the hill climb stuff. And we went out to some events and I ended up getting a turbo. And when they come out and just transitioned up, and then I went to a small race. It was down in southern Tennessee somewhere. I don't even remember the name of the park, but it was a pro rock race and mega mud truck race. And they had a little short course, and I went out there super unprepared. I ended up having to race a little short course part in two-wheel drive and ended up rolling on the first lap. It was kind of a bad scene. We transitioned over to the knockout stuff, and we were taking off 4 or 5 wide and hit the first hill, and it ripped the A-arm off and tires laying over there in the corner, and that was it. That was both my highlights. Flipped on the first lap and ripped the suspension off on the first climb. So after that, I kind of made some modifications of what I thought needed, and then really wanted to do the hill climb stuff, and we went down to Busted Knuckle, which was, I think, the very first pro rock race that Jay won, and we were just there spectating, and I was like, all right, this is a lot more up my alley. This is what I want to do. Took the car back home, completely changed it up, set it up, and then we went out to our next race, which was Mine Made, and ended up placing second out there at Mine Made. And then it's been hooked ever since.
So what's beautiful about you guys is both of you guys had the hill climb under the belt. You guys did a little bit of everything, but you guys started doing endurance when it started gaining a little bit more popularity. We'll go with Cody this time first. What drew you to the endurance racing over the hill climbs or all the other events that they had?
So no matter what you do, you put a lot of time, money, effort into whatever type of racing it is. My theory is you go out there to hill climb, and I'm not taking nothing from those drivers, but me personally, I'd rather go race something that's an hour and a half or 2 hours long, and rather than something that I show up and get 2 climbs that are 30, 60-second runs piece. So, I mean, I just like the longer runs, and, you know, the survival stuff, especially kind of where we are, it incorporates a lot of, maybe not so extreme hill climbs, but it incorporates a lot of hill climbs, a lot of fast moving stuff. It's a very broad spectrum on what you get to actually run and hit and do throughout the course of a survival course. So
Jay, what about you?
Well, I mean, so I come from hill climbing and had a single seat chassis and the whole 9 yards, and he pretty much nailed it. You know, you're driving the same length to the parks, you're putting the same amount of time in, but the thing that I like about survival or, you know, endurance or what the ultra forcing, as they call it, I guess.
Yeah.
Say I make a mistake in an hour or 2 hour race, I can back up and I can hammer down for the next 45 minutes and make up that time somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you mess up on a hill, I mean, you know, it's just sort of, you wasted 6 hours of your drive time and a whole lot of money, and you know, it don't really. There are great drivers in the hill climb, but there's not as much as, I guess, forgiveness for your mistakes or, you know, something like that. So I've seen there's a lot of luck on the hill climb. I've seen that there's a lot of, you know, that my buggy always giving me issues. I guess.
Well, let me ask you this, because I didn't know that there was. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that for a while there they were racing and they had they counted the number of times that you backed up on a hill. I went back and watched some really old busted knuckle films, and they laid out the bounty series, and you know, you got points for climbing the hill, but if nobody climbed the hill, then it went to how many times you went backwards and a few other things. I never realized it was that complicated, and it seems like it's a good thing to do.
That was the Southern Rock Racing family series that we were doing. We started the family as it's sort of progressed, it's a lot more a sprint race up the hills. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of hills that you know, that these buggies can't climb and stuff. It's pretty amazing that just about any given up to these single seat buggies are climbing the hills just as fast or faster. So, I mean, that was you know, that was the thing, I guess, that sort of drew me towards the survival. That was just the longer length of the weekend. You know, you get there on Thursday and Friday, and you pre-run, you qualify, and then you end up doing the racing on Saturday. So it just makes the full weekend effect to me versus the 30 or 45 second.
Yeah, and I'm having a little bit of camera issues or something going on here. So why don't you guys both, if y'all can still hear me, why don't you guys both tell me a little bit about how, you know, you mentioned that you get to run the course for longer, but how does prep change? You know, when you go from preparing for hill killing and then preparing for endurance racing, how does the prep look different? Because you guys, you know, y'all were both in Polaris machines and then went to Can-Am, and I know the prep between those things is similar, but it seems like it'd be different for hill killing.
Cody, you want to go?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I didn't do very much, you know, hill killing stuff. I kind of made the transition pretty quick from what I thought I wanted to do to the survival stuff. So I'm more all survival, and just back to the hill killing stuff right now. Like you were saying before, is man, some of these hills that they're picking are just so extreme too. Those guys are a totally different animal. But as far as prep goes, man, I'm really not sure exactly how they do. You know, we got a lot of, you know, prep for brakes and belts and clutching and, you know, tire prep, and there's just, I mean, we really got to go over a full car. You know, today alone, I put all new pads, all new rotors, all new fluid in the car. You know, I went in and just wheel bearings and bolt checked everything, and, you know, greased everything, and just went through the car, you know, changed the diff fluid and changed the oil. And man, we're rough on those cars. You know, we're beating them as hard as we can for 2 hours. So you really gotta check every little thing. I went to go put the rear rotors on the car, and I started looking at the trailing arm, and I actually broke one of the factory welds on the trailing arm. So it comes down to just really visually inspecting the car and, putting your hands on everything. You start go bolt check something and you get a couple turns out of it. Well, that could have cost you something. Or, I know me and Jay have talked, there's stuff that he's found before a race that if he didn't get to visually see, he'd have went out there and it'd have cost him a race, or, stuff that would have cost me a race.
Yeah, it's a different animal with the survival stuff. Just like you said, 2-hour races, an hour, and really the cars are so capable these days that it's not who can finish. It's who's going to have the mechanicals and who's going to set themselves apart on the prep. Because I ran the race at AOP, and anybody that's raced in the Southeast knows AOP is one of the roughest courses there are. And I literally gave my car no slack for 2 straight hours as hard as I could possibly push it, and had no issues. So you put the prep work in, the car's going to last. If you don't, then certain bolts coming loose, and I can remember. Funny story where me and Cody actually met. I was sort of started was at Mind Mate. So his first race with the survival stuff. We're doing our pre-running and all that kind of stuff, and I come off the first win, and I was pretty quick there. Was the other that means like
Had to do a little camera switching here. Sorry about that.
It's good, but I said 100% I can beat your brother. So I ended up out qualifying him, whatever. He ends up getting the podium, and I break a belt because I didn't understand at the time that the amount of prep you have to be built every race. You gotta go through every race and go 9 yards. So that prep from the first year till now has just tripled. There's not a time that I don't go through the whole car. Taking everything apart, taking all the ball joints apart, new axles, and just really just making it fresh every single race is the key, because the one little thing can cost you, so.
Yeah, that's something that I seem to have, I guess, gotten out easy on is, I did a race and had a completely loaded machine, ready to run, ready to race, and it was awesome. Best case scenario, you show up, you turn the key, and it just goes, and it was great. And as I'm getting ready for this, I'm actually looking at doing the Winrock race in November. I'm trying to get the car ready, got spare belts, parts, all that kind of fun stuff. But it's just a matter of going through and just making sure that everything is right. And that is the most painstaking part because you have to go check every single bolt and every single everything. And I know the Hill Killer guys do it too, but there's the long time period. It really puts, potential for a lot of those errors to go through. But I want to ask you guys, and Cody, I'm getting a little bit of feedback from your phone, so I'm unmuting you, or I'm muting you and unmuting you. So whenever you talk, I'm looking at you, trying to catch you when you're talking. So just in case you don't hear me acknowledge you, I'm looking at you. How does endurance racing go this year? Because it starts with this frozen rush of a race in early February or March, I forget when it was, and it was crazy. There was a ton of people out there. It was absolutely wild. So, Cody, if you want to go first, man, tell me a little bit about that race.
Oh man, that was a heck of a race. So we got out there. It ended up snowing. It started snowing while we were qualifying, and it snowed all night. We took off. That was my first race in a brand new car. Everything about it was different. Me and Jay both, we've really stepped up our game, from last year to this year, trying to be prepared and all that. And when we left the line, our hands felt like they were frozen to the steering wheel. We took off, and I was real unsure how the car was going to do. I did not have very much seat time. I had just finished building it, and Jay led most of the race. Me, my brother, I think Jay, I can't remember who else was on the front line, Knox and Landon Jones. We were all in the front row, and Cameron ended up most of the first lap in second. Jay led it, and then I kind of just worked my way up into second for most of the race, and then I ended up just breaking an axle, and there was a couple of hill climbs in the back, and I mean, I'm serious. You'd hit them at 30 miles an hour at the bottom, and you'd have to hold it to the floor. Tires would be spinning 80 miles an hour by the time you get to the top. And one of the tires just happened to catch, and it ended up really hurting my last lap. And so I lost that second place spot. And a couple guys got around, but I did finish the race, and it was a really big learning curve. Even from like you were talking about prep and then transition to this, the prep and just everything. There's so much more to it. So much to learn, and had to learn a lot about a new car.
Jay, how was that first race for you?
Oh man, it couldn't have been better, right? So I got the pole, I think, by 4 seconds that race. Like you said, it was starting to snow. I guess you could call a little bit of a luck draw because I went about middle of the way, so the snow hadn't really affected the track 100% yet. Get the pole. So it really didn't matter as long as you're in that top 5. We started 5 wide, dead engine start. Back to the prep. I mean, I had a good start and pulled the whole shot, and I mean, pretty much led the whole race. We come through the first the hardest part of that race was the first hill section. So we come down and we one-shot it, and it seemed, I want to say the whole field got cogged up right there on that first hill climb.
Yeah.
I mean, first lap, and had a smooth run the whole way, and I get all the way back around, and it's just chaos. So everyone was stuck. Like you said, I mean, it was pure ice, and just really going back to the hill climbing stuff, it really come into effect because there was, so many lines that were clogged up with racers that couldn't make it up, or they were really too slick of the hills and ruts and whatever. But me and my co-driver, we looked to the far left, and there was just literally just white powder snow everywhere. And I knew that was a better shot than the ice alternate. So, and we shot up through the woods. It's not even a trail. We were jumping over like down trees and everything else, and we make it out the top. And that was pretty much the separation of, we lapped, I want to say, like the whole field up to maybe third, because that one, decision that we made on that second lap coming through. So, that weekend went perfect, and we pretty much went 1-1-1 pretty much on qualifying, the whole shot and then the win. And it was really cool. Like you said, I mean, the hands were just frozen when we got done. I mean, the car is just covered in mud, and I really didn't even want to do my interview or anything like that with the up team. I just wanted to get in some heat, I mean,
absolutely. So let me ask you both this. How important, Cody, you can answer first. How important is, I forget what Ultra 4 calls it, anti-puncture systems, like tire balls or the chocks? How important is that in endurance racing?
So I actually run MRT tires, and the first few races, like, I didn't run any tire balls. I didn't run anything like that. So I had no flats at Dirty Turtle. I mean, there was literally wheels and tires laying in the ditch, that had broken hubs, and there was racer after racer, coming in with flat tires, and I didn't have any of that, and I ran a hard race. I didn't have any flats, so they're definitely security. I run some now, but man, I haven't had a flat MRT tire yet this year, even with them. So I think it depends a little bit on what tire you get, but there's a little bit of peace of mind, I guess I should call it, to run them. But because if, let's say, you were to get a flat, coming into the pits and having to change a tire, I mean, that'll cost you a race. If you look at some of mine and Jay's lap times from a lot of these races, and even some of the other guys, at how close we're finishing after an hour and a half, 2 hour race, I mean, we're talking about 14 seconds for I mean, you look at some of mine and Jay's lap times, they're within a second of each other. We're everyone's super close. It's so competitive that any little edge you can have, works to your benefit.
Yeah. So Jay, I'm going to ask you this question first. I was going to save it for later, but I'm going to go ahead and jump to it. So both of you guys last year, you guys raced Razors, the Polaris Razor, right? I think Cody ran the Turbo S. Jay, what machine were you running?
I was in a 18 turbo, just like regular standard, I guess 64 inch.
Okay. So you guys run the Razors, and now both of you guys are in X3, Can-Am X3, and to say that it made a substantial difference, I feel like is an understatement. The difference that it made, I mean, it projected both of you to the very top, and to the point where there's really only, I mean, I'm going to knock on wood here, and just maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the level of competition became so narrow, and it's really between 4 or 5 guys. 4 out of those 5 are running Can-Ams. Jay, what has the switch to Can-Am been like for you, and what would you tell somebody who is going to buy a new machine today?
I mean, it's really there's just no comparison. If you're looking at, you can look at it 5, 6 different ways. From stock to stock, a Can-Am, the ride comfort, the finished product that they've got, and then the power, it's just untouched. Now, going back to why it all happened, I guess, is really, I mean, if you look at every race last year, okay, me, Cody, Knox, Griffin, there was a handful of us that were all in Polaris. Well, the driver didn't change. All of our rigs changed.
Yeah.
And so Jamie McCoy and Wolf beat us to a pulp last year. I mean, we tried everything we could do, and really it was just, there was nothing that we could do because, see, I think me, Cody, and Knox were always right there with Jamie and Wolf at the first of the race or qualifying or anything like that. Those cars just wouldn't hold up. Yeah. And, we were trying to run them as hard. And for the Polaris, it was a good platform, but the belt, temperatures and all that kind of stuff, I mean, you just could not run that car as hard as you can a Can-Am. I had one lap last year at Dirty Turtle, and I think I got up to like a 230 belt temp. Woo! I've never seen my Can-Am get over 170 ever. Wow. And I've drove it as hard as you possibly drive it. I'm probably not as, that car is faster than I am is what I'm trying to get at. So, yeah. I mean, I've sort of seen it back in October. I didn't even run the last part of the year because I kept having so many issues out of that car. And I said, man, if I'm going to do this, I'm pretty much going to wash last year's end of the year. And I went out and bought the X3. They just come out with the RR. It was the 195 horse. And I was just like, hey, I'm going to, dedicate this last part of the year to building that. And me and Cody, man, we talk just about every day. And, I talked to Knox Griffin a whole lot. And I talked to a lot of these guys. We're all close buddies and stuff. And it was almost like McCoy and Wolf sort of sparked our interest enough. And then when I jumped on board, it was like boom, 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 boom. 4 or 5 people jumped straight on board. And I mean, really and truly, I wish I would have done it sooner. I mean, it would have really sort of – I wouldn't have wasted as much money last year trying to, just throw money at the fire kind of thing. But it's been a great transition. I mean, racing's racing. You're always going to have issues, and I don't care what you're driving. It's racing off-road, so it's yeah. But I want to at least show up the best and at least the best possible to win and do the best that I can, and that's definitely in that X3 for sure.
All right, Cody, tell me about the switch for you. Because you were a mean Turbo S machine, dude. You were out there ripping it hard, and then you go out and switch. What made you want to do it, and then what was it like when you finally did it?
So, first off, a Turbo S, it's wide. It's 72 inches wide, and some of these courses, a narrow car, you can maneuver a little bit more. It just kind of helps. And AOP at the last race really showed me that Jay rode with me at the last race. He was the last Pro Rock race last year. He was out. He was already calling, committed, and he wasn't racing. And I was like, hop in with me and co-pilot. And some of the trees that we'd have to check up and slow up through that had an advantage for other cars that weren't so wide. That was a big eye opener. And I had some good qualifying runs and some good, top 5 and top 3 races in that Turbo S, but it was never enough to feel like I was super competitive. And
sure.
Like Jay said, we talked a lot, and he went and switched, and I was real leery. I was, all I know is Polaris. That Turbo S was like my 6th Polaris. I know every nut and bolt, everything about them, and to think, oh, hey, let's go ahead and switch to this Can-Am that I know nothing about, and I'm going off of a couple guys saying that they're fast and they handle good, and having to start all over building a new car, that was tough. So I ended up selling it, and I got in it, and I was amazed. The first few times that I rode it here at the house and through the woods, I was shocked at how fast I could go through the woods and how well it handled and how well it stuck in the corners, and just how hard I could push it. And I was blown away. And then once I got it built and started racing, I mean, all you got to do is look at stats. I mean, back-to-back wins. I mean, seconds and fastest qualifying, and I mean, just all you got to do is look at mine and Jay's stats and see how well it is.
Absolutely. And that's why I got you guys. I mean, be honest with you, that's why I got you on the show, because you guys went from, upper middle of the pack to the big dogs. And it Jay mentioned it, the drivers are still the same drivers. Everybody gets better every year, but man, y'all made a huge leap. So I was curious, Cody, what was the biggest, what would you say is the biggest difference in terms of drivability? Is it the power? Is it the handling? What about it just makes it that much better? What would you say if you had to say one thing?
To say one thing's a little hard. It really is a few multiple things. We really stepped it up this year. So from the shocks, the handling, and the power, I mean, it's night and day difference. There's, put it this way, stuff that I would slow up for in the Polaris and just didn't have the confidence. I'm holding the Can-Am to the floor, and I mean, I'm bouncing across it. Going into corners, rather than breaking at 100 feet, we're breaking at 30 feet, or just for an example. But it's just, you can push it so much harder, and it's feels so much flatter, and it really just overall handles so much better. It feels like you're sitting in a Corvette versus sitting in a Jeep.
That's a good analogy. Jay, what would you say?
Yeah, I think for me, if I had to just pick one thing, so the Can-Am is a little longer, the length of it, and so all the wood stuff that we do, you've got a lot of G-outs and a lot of that stuff that upsets the car. I think the extra length of the Can-Am with, how hard we can push it through the woods and it not upset and have that donkey kick effect and try to, really upset it. Yeah. I think for me, that's probably the main thing. Now the power's, untouched. They're extremely fast, but how hard you can push the car and the comfort level that you feel. See, because I could be fast in a Polaris, but I felt like I was always on the edge of wrecking.
Sure.
I mean, you can literally just go as hard as you want, but there's almost like a little out of control feel where the Can-Am, you almost feel so relaxed in there. And like you said, in Dirty Turtle, just for instance, when you come off the short course and into the woods, there's about 4 of those just hard dips that the car will just try to bottom out real hard on. And really and truly, the faster you hit it, it feels better. It's wild. We both run G-Force racing shocks, and he's got it figured out with those Can-Ams like nobody's business. But, I think that length of the Can-Am also, it just stays flat. Like in the corners, it stays flat. When you hit those G-outs, and it really just, I don't know, it just feels so good and just comfortable at all times. That's probably to me the biggest factor.
Did you guys watch Crandon race the side-by-side race this weekend?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get to. I was working.
Oh, well, okay. For us slackers, so I watched it, and that's the first time I've watched really any short course racing. I actually ended up tuning in to watch the 4,400 cars for Ultra 4, and the UTVs were on right after that on Sunday. But dude, I was really shocked because I don't know where Can-Am came in. I think they were third, maybe lower than that. They had a Pro XP out there that was doing really well, and they obviously the Yamaha YXZ, or I'm not sure what it is. The Yamaha was out there doing work. I really feel like that Can-Am though would be like king of that short course style circuit. And I know there's a lot of guys out west that do it, but Cody, what did you think when you were watching it this weekend that a Pro XP won?
Well, so I was actually this close. I even tried to get Jay to go fly out there with me. I was going to go hang out with Nathan Wolf was out there racing, and we were gonna go hang out, and I really wanted to go see it in person. But so we were gonna go up there and hang out. So I only got to watch, but it seems like the short course stuff, the YXZ's got it figured out. I don't know if it's the short wheelbase that helps, but them being just as wide and big power. But I think in the next couple races and next season, a lot of the Can-Am guys are getting it figured out. You've got Scotty Lawrence and Nathan Wolf and Kyle Chaney. They're all going to be serious contenders. So I wouldn't give up on the Can-Am out there yet. I'd keep an eye open.
What I think about the short course stuff too, and everybody's got their feast or famine, but I think the short course, those cars, they're pro mod. Okay. Yeah. They can build those cars to the gills, and there's just so much that you can really do to make all of them so competitive that, you got some of the best drivers in the world. I mean, everybody's got their shot, and like I said earlier, that the machines themselves are getting so good. So you got one or two guys that are always top contenders. They're going to have a weekend where they might be off. They might have an issue or whatever. I mean, racing's racing, but I think where, the Can-Am just really shines is the woods. I mean, that's sort of their roots the whole way through. Started with the GNCC stuff, and then it's just always kept that way. I mean, Can-Am swept the King of the Hammers this past year, and it's sort of, I don't know. I mean, one race really don't define you. You know what I mean? So.
Absolutely, and I have to say that if I was gonna be a manufacturer and there was one race I was gonna focus on, it's gonna be King of the Hammers. And I'll let you guys in on a little information. We got some people watching live with us. My Polaris interview was last week, and they're still doing their business, trying to sort it out in house. But they are very focused on King of Hammers, trying to get that title back. But they said something to me that I'm gonna say very vaguely, so I don't get in trouble. But I would keep an eye on I think it was Cody Miller that ran the 4400 class in the UTV. I would keep an eye on that because there's some of those race edition cars that are out there, and that's what they're being built for, is those R race editions. They're bypassing all of the UTV classes. It's a very interesting thing that they're trying to do. And again, that's all hypothetical, but I think you'll see that car at Dakar being raced in the 4400 Unlimited class. And very interesting because, the 1000cc limit is what prohibits all of the UTV stuff. And makes it, a car or whatever, however they want to classify it. But I thought it was pretty interesting in that they were hypothetically talking about, just bypassing the UTV class for the new car. So very interesting stuff. And again, all that is hypothetical and not real. But that being said, we hope that Polaris comes out with a machine that's a little bit more competitive, because Can-Am seems to have taken a big push forward on you guys. Because, I mean, you guys get, the Nathan Wolf, McCoy, you two, that's the top four of any race every day, unless something catastrophic happens or, everybody has a really bad day. But you guys are pretty much it, and James Cantrell chimed in just with Polaris in the comments there. I always give James a hard time because every single time I've seen him at a race, his doors are hanging off barely by a bolt. So I always like that. But so tell me, what's the next race for you guys? Because they had Dirty Turtle this year, and you guys have done a little bit of Renegade racing. What's going on? Tell me about Mid-America. Actually, let's talk about Mid-America. We'll start there. How did that race go? Because you got a pretty epic picture out of it for sure. Jay, do you want to go first?
Oh man, I don't really. I want to forget that race. I don't know. Did that race really happen? No, it was. It was really good. I mean, we show up and qualified in the top four, so we were on the front row, and it went good. I mean, I pulled the whole shot, and we were pretty much hammered down. And hey, there's no excuse to it. At the end of the day, Cody wins the race, so that's all that matters. But I had I don't know, a select few people just telling me gap, 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 you know.
Yeah.
And, even in the headset, they were telling us, hey, man, you got a gap. And towards the end of the race, and this is totally my fault. This is where it comes in. I missed the driver's meeting. That was doing the final little, touches in the race car. All I knew is that we were lining up at so-and-so time. So I was going to make the race. Well, I missed the driver's meeting, and at the driver's meeting, they had established that it was a 3-lap race no matter the time. If we did 20 minutes or an hour and a half. And so coming into lap 3, which obviously last lap, I didn't know this, but it was sort of going off the phone. We were at 40 minutes. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, man, we feel like we're getting close to the race, but I didn't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And all I kept hearing was gap again, So I had sort of eased off the aggression, and I'm thinking, we've got a huge lead, yada, yada, yada. We're just going to sort of coast in, and maybe we'll get the white flag. Maybe we'll get the flag, or at least sort of know where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So coming into lap 3, we never got a white flag. And so I'm thinking, hey, it's still racing, let's roll on. So the pace had slowed down. Well, Cody's pace went to the floor, and he had closed that gap that I once had, So he comes out of nowhere, and pretty much in the last 2 corners, I swing it a little wide, and he just darts in. Well, I'm like, okay, well, man, he put a good sort of move on me. I'm gonna follow him to the finish, and I'm really fast up here in this open section. I'm gonna repass him. As we come through, I mean, it's literally checker flag flying, and he took the win from me pretty much the last couple of corners. So, I felt like my girlfriend got stolen from me. I mean, I don't think I've ever felt, I've felt some pretty tough things racing, and you have those bad days, but pretty much had led the race, the whole race, because dust was a factor in this race, and when we pull in whole shot, I mean, we pretty much had the clear still, and it was sort of depressing, going back to the trailer. And normally on a weekend, if you get second, you're sort of, hey, that's not a bad weekend, but you shouldn't be okay with it the whole ride home. And Mid-America's nowhere close to Alabama, so that was a long one.
Cody, tell me about it.
Went out there, like Jay said, we both qualified front row, and there was 5 of us Can-Ams on the front row, and I run a stock tune. We all took off, and out of the 5 2020 RR Can-Ams, I was the 5th one going into the woods. I couldn't get the jump. They all got the jump on me, and we went in. So I fought dust the entire race, and it was rough. The first lap, I moved up a spot, made a pass, and then the next lap we come around, and Knox had broke something on a hill, and he was already headed up the hill, and he broke right at the top, and I was already right behind him. I kind of had to get off and get all around him, and then once I got around him, Jay had, I think, a 45-second lead on all of us, and I just laid it down. I ended up having to pull over twice in the race and restart the car because the car was going into limp mode, and so I'd reset it and come to a rolling stop, reset it, take back off, and headed into that, that last lap, I could start seeing Jay's dust, and it was either hammer down and push as hard as I could, or, just stay where I was at. And I honestly didn't know I was that close to him. And then we were going up, it's the last ravine. You kind of come around the corners, you can see the lake, and then you take a hard right, and you go up a ravine that's maybe, quarter, half mile long, and it's kind of windy, and then you shoot up a hill and make a 180-degree corner, and then you're towards the finish line. And as soon as I made that corner and saw that he was in the ravine, I just held it wide open, and all I could aim for was his back bumper. It was so dusty that, you couldn't see what was in the trail. You couldn't see what was off the side. It was just, I hope Jay knows where he's going, and I'm going to run in his dust until I can see his back bumper. And hopefully when I get close enough, then I can actually see and kind of make a move. And I got right to his back bumper as we started shooting up the hill, and I had, in pre-running, I was trying to figure areas that I could, pass or make a move. And when you come up the hill, it kind of swung wide and made a big, wide, swooping 180-degree corner, or you could shoot to the inside, like down into like a drainage ditch. And as soon as we started up that hill, I just cut the wheel to the left and tried to drive up beside him, and we both stayed in it through the corner, and I just kind of popped out, and then even into the next corner, we go into the next corner, the very last corner of the finish line, and I go to hit the brakes, and there's nothing there. And like I come into the corner, and my car's almost on two wheels and bicycling, and I almost gave it back up, and Jay dipped to the inside there, but I was able to pull it off and hold my new spot.
Yeah. Oh. That's funny.
I said, can we change the subject yet?
Yeah. All right. We'll move on.
For everyone that wants to see it, it's on my Facebook page. There's videos and drones footage and all that.
Yeah.
I will concede that the drone footage is pretty cool. It is a really nice little commemoration. So let me.
I think the worst part about it all for Jay is, he's driving home, and it was like every couple hours there was someone else that would release a picture, the drone footage, and it was like rather than the race be over and move on, it was like on a fire.
Yeah. So okay, let me give the flip side of this. Jay, what is your favorite memory or favorite just time you've had while you're endurance racing? Because again, I've done one race. It was awesome. I am trying to build this 2-seat car because I had so much fun, and you can't describe how good it is when you're in that race and when you're having fun and when people are all around you and you're getting bumped in the back and getting pushed off the trail. It's a lot of fun. What's your favorite memory?
Well, I think that's really what makes the survival or the endurance racing so much fun, and the stories that come after it of everybody's adventure of an hour or 2-hour race, or even the guys that talk about King of the Hammers. Is the adventure of the race itself is what you'll always remember. That's sort of what makes it so much fun. Is like you dip off into the woods, unless you got GoPro footage or a drone, for God's sakes. I mean, it's following you. I mean, you nobody knows what's going on. So it's when you come back around and you're sort of just talking with everybody and sharing those moments and stuff. But probably for me, and once again, I got second place this race, but I would say me and Jamie McCoy had one of the most fun battles at AOP with a Renegades race this year that I've had. I mean, me and Cody's had some good battles sort of going back and forth as far as lap times, but me and Jamie physically fought it out for, the whole 2 hours it felt like. So at AOP, I get the pole, and the way that track was sort of set up was there was there's two separate lines. There was either really tough, hard hill climb that you could sort of, take a risk on, but it shaved 30 seconds off your time, or you could go this sort of rocky, easy, kind of go lucky way up, and it put you back on the perimeter trail. I'm aggressive, and so I was thinking, okay, if I'm starting first, I'm going to really put a 30-second, gap on the start of this race and really try to get going. Mm-hmm. So first lap I go and I hit the hard line, and it had rained like crazy, so it was muddy and everything else, and it just had kicked me the right way where I had to back up 2 times and end up climbing the hill or whatever, but it wasn't as fast as going just the slow, steady way. Mm-hmm. So at that point, Jamie and I had sort of mixed back up. Now he was on corrected time, so he was ahead of me. But man, it was sort of like playing cat and mouse, because he was so much faster than me in certain areas because he was on 32s. I was on 30, so I was super fast to the tighter stuff. And we would literally, I would pull 30 seconds on him and pretty much be, out of his sight. And then all of a sudden I would hear him, horning and sort of making me go out of the way. And I don't know, we just sort of swapped back and forth that whole race. And I don't know, at one point, it was funny because we come to obviously he knew this. He's been racing a long time, super smart. But I was in front of him and going up into this rock section or whatever. I sort of had pulled off to the right, and I wanted to follow him through this line because I knew he had a faster line because it was the same spot he was catching me like every lap. Well, he knew that he was ahead of my time. He stops dead still in the middle of the trail, and I'm stopped dead still trying to let it go by. And I'm like, go! He's like, keep going. And so I got to take back off, and we ended up going along. But like I said, he had a little bit of a time difference on that first initial heel. But
Yeah.
just the fact of sort of him sort of going both back and forth that whole race was, one that I probably remember a little bit better than any other. Now, I have a funny story on my mind made, but it really wasn't my most fond memory, but it's something I always remember.
Sure.
I bought the belt, and so as I'm changing the belt, Cash Lecroy passes me in his first one, holding the number one out at me. And they get it on GoPro footage of him just holding the number one out. So
That's
I'll always remember that one. But
that's pretty funny.
Funny, because you got a 9-year-old sort of rubbing it in your face.
Cody, what about you? What's your favorite experience you've had while you've been racing, other than the Mid America?
Well, Mid America is always going to be high up there. Not just way out, but park so often. I mean, we really got done racing, and 30 minutes after we left the finish line, I brought the car back to the trailer, and I was in the pool. We were out there swimming, having a margarita. There's no other off-road park, around that you can go win a race and then go back float in the pool with a margarita in your hand. That's pretty cool. But other than that, there was a pretty cool race this year, Blue Holler. It was a Renegades race, and me and Jamie kind of battled it out there. He took off on the front row, and I took off on the second row, so I was trying to play catch-up the whole time. And, it was like we'd come into the short course, and we'd be in the same spot on the short course, passing each other every time. I'd be coming this way, he'd be coming this way, and we'd pass the same spot just about every time. And so I worked for that one. That was a really fast race. I like a really fast course. And but the cool part is a lot of my family and some friends and stuff were there. That was my grandfather's first race to go to. I had my little girl, my fiance there. The whole family was there. So to pull off a big win while all your family's there, and it was kind of close to home, it was just a good race overall.
So let me ask you guys this. Have you guys raced, obviously you talked about doing Renegades, but there hasn't been that many endurance races this year. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been sort of hit or miss. I mean, Pro Rocks had a couple of little issues, I guess, with some of the parks and stuff during the COVID stuff. So really, I mean, we're just trying to hit anything we can. I mean, this next weekend, me and Cody both are going to a Renegades race at Dirty Turtle. And, I don't know. We've got that competitive little itch going towards each other. And hopefully we can go qualify, 1 and 2, and then just pretty much race it out for 2 hours. I've really been, I don't know, in my head thinking that would be the factor, that would be really cool. It'd almost be like the tiebreaker in a way. And I don't know. I mean, it'd just be really fun this weekend. I'm sort of looking forward to that. I hope in all perfect world, I mean, we would qualify 1 and 2, and then come the race, we literally start side by side, and it's like, hey, 2 hours worth of a battle, So looking forward to the weekend.
What do you think about that? You ready to race?
I'm ready. We're ready to go. We've been working on the car and getting parts in and just trying to get ready. And I think it's going to be a good time. Dirty Turtle's always a good course. It's a fun course, and I think it's going to be a good time. Hopefully it's not snowing and 30 degrees this time, and we get to the course a little bit different. But yeah, we're pretty excited, and we're definitely getting ready, and we'll be up there and ready to do some competing for sure.
So my question currently is, I'll start with Jay because he seems to be rather popular with this question. Have you guys been doing any practice racing or racing recently, Jay? You have a couple fans who keep asking who beat you this weekend.
I see some of that, and really, it comes down to I went to a local race this weekend. Okay. Ashley is always the crowd favorite. He's 10 minutes down the road. His dad John actually races an RS1, his stock RS1, pretty much his pre-runner car.
Yeah.
And, how it sort of worked out is, I went up there just sort of have some fun and see some of my friends, all this kind of stuff. And luckily I did. I had an issue the first race, put me in the loser's bracket, and worked myself up. And I had to race John again. So the first race, raced John Lecroy. I have an issue. He beats me, So he's sort of rubbing in my face. How it worked out, I raced him again. and really Cash had just taken the win on everybody all night. So I wanted to let Dad and son race, and so I pretty much just give the race to him. So and you know he thinks he beat me. I mean, I've got a bunch of people asking, you know, look, if it makes him feel better and lets him sleep better at night, I mean, he beat me. You know, but I mean, come on. I mean, you know, it is what it is, you know.
Cody, you have a comment on that?
I'm not even going to comment on it. All I got to say is he likes getting passed in the last couple corners.
Killed me.
I understand.
I got a little bit more in-depth story on that one, but we'll just leave it at that.
Cody, you've been racing any recently? You've been getting anything prepped up, anything special?
Just getting the car prepped up. Really haven't done much since I guess it was Mid-America. I've run the car. You know, we've got some property here, just to kind of do some testing and stuff like that. But other than that, no, just kind of going through the car. I've had a bunch of brake issues at Mid-America, so trying to get all those fixed and straightened out, and just ready for this next one. I was really looking. My plan was to do everything I could to be ready for Race to Riches. You know, that was my big plan, and then that ended up getting canceled. So it kind of left me in a bind of I wasn't quite ready to go race something else, but we're ready now. So we'll get back out there and see what we got.
So let me ask you guys both this. What are you looking forward to? I mean, we mentioned the Dirty Turtle race that's coming up this weekend. But next thing on the calendar, I think, is the Windrock race, unless, you know, Race to Riches pops up at another venue or something like that. Is that the next time that both of you guys are going to be racing?
I mean, we're going to race this weekend at Dirty Turtle, and depending on, you know, how bad we beat the cars up or if everything goes smooth. Cody lives in Tennessee. I live in Alabama, and there's a race at Loretta Lynn's, Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. It's an AXCC race. So, you know, we've both never raced their series. You know, it's sort of right down our alley, and we'd like to go sort of, you know, see what those guys are made of, and you know, race some of those cats. I mean, there's some fast woods guys there, so it's a little bit different than like the Renegades, the 2-hour race there. A lot more rocks and stuff with what we normally run. That's a lot more tight woods and sort of that old GNC style, you know, feel to it, dead engine starts and the whole 9 yards. But it being so close for both of us, I think that we've both talked about running that as well, back-to-back weekends.
When is that?
Not this weekend, but the next.
Okay. Now they're not having anything at Indian Mountain for endurance, are they?
No, that's sort of our thing. I mean, we wanted to go to that Radical Cure that Southern Rock Racing and Pro Rock's putting on, and great calls, man. They normally do that at Top Trails. They're putting it at Indian Mountain this year, and I'm sure there'll be a huge turnout, which there needs to be. I mean, they put on a good show and for a good cause, you know. But we're just trying to look at the schedule, like you said, sort of dwindling down. The COVID sort of gotten a lot of you know, the racing series has sort of been just sporadic, and we're just trying to put out for our sponsors, you know, because man, without those guys for both of us, I mean, you know, call it sales pitch or whatever, but really nobody really realizes how expensive this sport is until you deep off in it. And we're just trying to get back to our sponsors as much as we can and race as much as we can.
So let me ask you guys this, because y'all are both sponsored by big names in the off-road industry. And we'll start with Cody. Cody, how, if you were giving advice to other racers, how do you market yourself to get sponsors and to get the help that you need to run a race team like this?
Man, I had to do a lot of learning and trial and error stuff on that. You know, social media is a big thing nowadays. You know, podium finishes always help. You know, you just gotta. Everyone does it a little bit different. If I've learned anything, not everyone does it the same. You know, Jay might do something a little different than I do. You know, it's just. But I mean, really, just gotta try to promote your sponsors the best you can, and you know, in all aspects. You know, your personal life. You know, whether you're out trail riding, racing. You know, you're representing that company, so everything you do has got to be towards them. And you know, they do so much for us. You know, we just got to do the best we can for them, and just try to promote them the best we can in any way that we can.
Jay, how about you? Got any advice?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I spoke with Anthony Yunt one year, and it was just sort of, I guess, maybe year two when I got into the racing, and he had sort of taken me to school about, not so much of the results, just how much you present yourself, even at the races. And, this year I've really sort of went, I guess, full boat with that. But I've had a couple of sponsors step up this year and really change sort of the dynamic of my race program, not only on the appearance level of, oh, I'm, sponsored or whatever, but you start getting the parts and you start getting the money and all that kind of stuff that comes with it, and your prep can change. I mean,
Yeah.
coming unprepared, now you've got multiple tires, Maxon stepped up this year, and I got a great deal with those guys. I got a bunch of tires from them, and Planet Side by Side gets me all the rims I need. And one of my good buddies, David Walker, Custom Trucks Unlimited, man, he stepped up probably the biggest out of anybody, and it's just really, it changed my whole program. And with that, I wanted to change how I showed up to the races. So I used to be a guy, I'm a single man show just about with my race team. I've got my co-driver this year, which, I mean, he helps a huge amount, but I don't have a big family, atmosphere when I come to the races. I've got the friend aspect of it, but a lot of times I'll show up by myself, but I at least have a huge tent with all my sponsors on it. I've got a race suit with all my sponsors on it. I try to present the car as best I can. And like you said, the social media presence, I've tried to do really well with that. And just always sort of the relationship side of it is where it all starts. You can't just call, Super ATV and say, hey, I'm a racer and I need parts. And I think everybody sort of is learning that, the more we all race. I mean, don't put a sticker on your car just because, it looks cool or whatever.
Right.
Because then it just sort of, it dilutes the water for everyone that's actually trying to do it the right way. So I think the relationship side of it is where it mainly starts, and that's in any aspect of life, whether it's a business owner, a salesman, or a racer. I mean, if I feel like I know you on a personal level, and me and you are buddies and stuff, and say you've got a product that I want to run or whatever, when the buddy side of it helps that, okay, well, let's sort of, let's see how this can help both of us, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sponsorships are not just single-sided deals. I mean, obviously both parties are trying to get somewhere with it, and that's what you got to do. I mean, you got to help them, and they help you, and just sort of try to make the world go around with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and this so this will be my last question. If you guys have anything else you want to talk about, we can talk for as long as you guys want. Cody, we'll start with you. Oh yeah, trust me, I know. I'm still on. I'm cooking some steaks and that's all that fun stuff. I don't have. Yeah. Cody, what are you looking forward to right now? What's next on the horizon for you? And do you have any off-season plans?
I do. So we're gonna go get Dirty Turtle out of the way this weekend. We might try AXCC to give it a shot, and then our next race will be Windrock, Pro Rock for the last race. I always look forward to Windrock. It's one of my favorite places, and great to bring the family. Good spectator spot. But once that race is over, it's teardown time. We are going to completely tear the car down, and we're going to King of Hammers this year. So we've got big plans for that.
That's exciting, man.
It is. I'm super excited. And if Jay would stop being so stubborn, we'd get him out there too. But we talk about it a lot.
I was about to say, it's the perfect remedy to get both you guys out there at the same time.
Well, we've talked about it, man. He got my hamsters turning the other day pretty hard, and like I said, we talk all the time, and we sort of bounce ideas off each other, and it's one of those things, he brought up to me, and it's something I've always wanted to do. I just don't know. I just started my own company. I'm working 6-7 days a week and trying to just make that roll like it should. And I don't know. I mean, it's that bug of King of the Hammers gets to you, and you do it every year. This time of year, it starts getting in my head, and I don't know. I mean, hey, if anybody wants to help me out, get from Alabama to California, I'm sure it's not going to be a cheap task to do it the right way. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I want to make it happen for sure.
Well, I think that'd be cool.
Back to the sponsor thing, we're close with a lot of our sponsors, and we're really close with our main sponsor, Nitro Racing Parts, and we've been talking to them guys, and we've been wanting to get out there for a while, and we've definitely decided to team up, and we're going to take on the task. It's going to be a big job, and there's a whole lot to it. I mean, we've started planning logistics, and just that's not the easiest thing in the world, but they've really stepped up. I mean, they back us a lot, and do everything they can for us, but we're going to go out there as a team this year, and we're going to go try to put on a show and see what we can do.
Man, I can't wait. I love, like, every year we have the 10 guys from the East Coast that are in the race circuit. They go out and they race, and I love watching our guys go out there because it's always something crazy, and it's always big news coming through. So I love it. I'm excited. I'll be cheering for you. Jay, what are you looking forward to? What's the off season look like for you?
I mean, really, I've got these last 2 weekends sort of planned out here, and then, same as him as far as Windrock. But I don't know, man. I mean, if I can get it all planned out, I'd hope to go out towards Hammers and stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I think that the East Coast guys always sort of show up in a big way, and I think we're some of the fastest in the nation or whatever. Whether we're in the desert or I went out to Texplex this year, and those guys are extremely fast, and you learn a lot. But I mean, I think that we could go out there and handle our own. So I don't know. It's in the back of my head. So just play out the next couple of weekends and see if I can't make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with Cody again. Cody, do you have any closing remarks? Anything you need to say before we sign everything off here?
No, Jay needs to watch his back this weekend, but other than that, I mean.
Hey, all I heard in that was I need to watch my back, so that means I'm in the front, so I'm coming for the win.
And the famous question always is, would you rather set the pace or would you rather chase the leader? And I'd much rather chase the leader, so just watch out in those last few corners.
Yeah.
Jay, what's your final words, my man?
I don't know, man. You'll do a quick interview with us Saturday after the race, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more about it.
That sounds good. We'll jump right back here, and we'll make it happen.
Here's the last thing. I just don't know how Cody's head has fit in the screen the whole night. So we went this long. At least we can throw a couple of jabs out there. We'll probably call each other in 5 minutes and talk about it and laugh about it. So it's all in good fun, man. Hopefully we can just be safe and have a good race this next weekend.
All right, fellas.
Jay jokes around about my head being physically big, and I always joke around his about being, ego big and big-headed that way. So we both have a big head.
Yeah, well, that's why you guys are so fast. The head is so big.
I'm going to go get some time so I can give Jay a run for his money this weekend, and you guys take it easy.
All right, fellas. Well, we'll close it out here. Everybody watching live with us, thanks for joining in, and I will see y'all next time.